Because what if shedding is not about losing who you were, but it's about freeing yourself to become what's next, who you're next meant to be? Welcome to Intuition Unlocked, the podcast empowering empathic women who feel misunderstood, overwhelmed, or disconnected from their intuition, begin to trust their sensitivities, find inner clarity, and show up with embodied, unstoppable confidence in their daily lives. I am your host, Olivia Ashley, an empath and intuitive, and I am so happy you're here. Welcome back to Intuition Unlocked. It's Olivia here, and today we're going to talk about shedding and letting go. And not so much as a productivity exercise or even a New Year reset, but more as an intuitive practice to prepare you for your next chapter. Because there's a moment that comes before any real change, before action, clarity, and momentum unfolds, where something inside you quietly says, this no longer fits. It's usually not loud, and it often does not come with a plan, but it may arrive as a restlessness, a reflection, or a subtle sense that you're carrying more than you need to. So if you've been feeling this way lately, I want you to know that feeling isn't confusion, it's information. And in this episode, you're going to learn how to release what's heavy, outdated, or misaligned so you can step forward feeling lighter, clear, and more confident in what you're creating. So in this conversation, you're going to begin to see why letting go is not a failure, but a form of wisdom. How this season we're in energetically supports release before forward movement, and how to work with your intuition to discern what's ready to be left behind and what's ready to grow. So let's get into it. At the start of every year, there's definitely a collective pause. There's a natural moment where we look back, take stock, and feel into what's next. And this year, the pause that's offered feels a bit deeper, more magnetic. And I shared this a bit in my 2026 Energy and Messages episode, number 161. And this cycle is potent. That's the main energy of 2026. There's a potency here about this, of what we're stepping into, and really a fire to it. And one other clear symbolic mirror of this transition we're moving through is coming from the Chinese zodiac. And I'm sure if you're here listening, you've been seeing how collectively we're really interested in this reflection through the Chinese zodiac and their signs this year. I'd say more so than any other year I've really noticed, at least in the past few years. Collectively, we are all quite excited about the change and what the Chinese zodiac symbols are really showing. So if you haven't seen it, or as a reminder, 2025 carried the energy of the snake, an archetype of shedding, inner transformation, and refinement. And the snake doesn't force change. It releases its skin when it has outgrown it. And not because that old skin was wrong, but because growth requires space and transformation. And the snake in 2025 brought us an energy that asked us to look honestly at the identities we've been wearing, the beliefs we've been living from, and the habits that once served us but now feel constricting. So it was quite jarring. It felt uncomfortable, and we were asked and sometimes forced to do the work, to look within, to see what needs to be let go of. And this idea of shedding old skin goes beyond a metaphor. It's truly archetypal. It's one of the oldest symbols of transformation that we carry in our myth, in ritual, and even nature. There is a deep resonance and knowing that we too move through this cycle often, and it is something that should be held as sacred, something that's given time and allowed its space to happen. It's not something to jump forward or push through or ignore altogether. And on my walk this week, I actually came across a snake skin, and it stopped me in my tracks because it is winter. It's an odd time to see a snake skin out on the grass. So I paused and I felt into it. And I already knew this topic was something that was formulating for today's episode. So it felt like a confirmation that yes, this is the work right now. This is what we're moving through. We don't need to rush ahead or reinvent everything overnight even, but we need to notice what's ready to fall away. The snake invites inner transformation. The snake asks us to slow down. And the Chinese zodiac, the snake is still present. We don't move to the next sign until February 21st. And so we're preparing for that shift. We're at the cusp of both. We're feeling both energies. And as we move into 2026 further and past February 21st, we enter the year of the horse, and that energy shifts. The horse begins to invite outward expression. It asks us to gallop forward, not recklessly, but with clarity. The horse represents momentum, movement, confidence, and freedom. And I think what matters most is knowing that you cannot move freely if you're still carrying what belongs to the past. If you're still carrying the beliefs or the systems or the habits or the fears that are keeping you from this freedom. And one of the most common symbols I'm given in my Akashic record readings for people who are feeling like they are one foot in one world, but so ready for the next leap. Why am I not there yet? How do I get there? When will this happen? What's holding me back? When they're feeling that type of sense, I'm often shown in the records, they are a horse stuck in a pen. And the pen is usually of their own making. Again, it's their beliefs, their habits, their limitations and fears of they themselves, their soul, know they want to be at this next space, but they are stuck, limited, unsure of how to make the leap, how to break out of that pen. But that's the work. That's the answer of what's holding them back. It's about how do they reflect what is at the core of those things that's created that pen, that's keeping them there running in circles endlessly and restless. And what is there to let go, to break free of so they can move out and be free, feel that freedom. And ultimately, I'm usually shown it's typically within the control of the person, which is really empowering. And that's where we do the work. We show up for ourselves. And that's why this moment right now is very reflective and connected to that imagery, to that understanding, because we are shedding before expansion, before that freedom comes. And letting go asks a lot of us. Often it's quite emotional, but it also is very intuitive. Letting go is not something you force or even decide once and then it happens. It's a very felt experience, and there's a rhythm of discernment that is called for. So whether or not you follow the Chinese zodiac or astrology or numerology, the symbolic shifts are there. It is a felt sense. They're all coming together to paint a very similar picture. There is this shift from inner release to outward creation that's mirroring a very real human process happening within us. Because typically before something can grow, there needs to be space. Something needs to make room for that new energy, that new thing. And before a new identity can emerge or can be crafted, outdated beliefs or fears must loosen their grip. And before momentum begins, clarity must be invited. Often we want to force clarity. We ask for it, we seek it. And often what I have found is it's patience, it's presence, it's the subtle intention of show me what's next, and then allowing and surrendering for it to come forward. And this goes beyond spiritual poetry, these metaphors, these stories or myths. Psychological research shows that awareness of patterns is foundational to change. When we can slow down and notice, feel into what's coming up, what's going on, the story that's happening right now, we can begin to interrupt automatic loops and open space for something new. There is an actual change that happens within our brain chemistry and our body that allows for this to take place and allows for us to step into that next season. Often letting go is framed as something strong, decisive, and clean, but I have found in real life, letting go is usually slow, tender, and layered. What our human minds do not want or appreciate often, we want the fast, the clear, the strong aspects that let us move forward quickly. But the shedding needs space, needs time, and needs integration. And with that, there is a request for acceptance, an acceptance of this process, an acceptance of the past versions of yourself, the beliefs you once needed, the dreams that shaped you, and the ways of being that made sense as you moved through them. Letting go might bring up feelings that you were incorrect, or you're going to choose something new and it's going to be wrong. And those feelings can be honored, can be felt. Yet that's where acceptance can come in and say, I understand why this existed, and I understand I can't control everything. So I'm going to do my best to be here, to accept what was, to accept what is, and accept my choices, because they are just that, choices. Every choice creates a new pathway for you, and nothing is inherently wrong. There's side quests and back doors, and there's reroutes all the time. So trust in the choice that you make and know that you can choose again. That will take you somewhere, and you can assess and you can choose again. Can it be more of an adventure, an exploration, a curiosity where nothing is inherently wrong? It's about the lessons, about the journey. And that understanding of acceptance lets your body, your mind, your emotions loosen the grip on control. I also see that in this space, we can open a door to forgiveness. Forgiveness often lives here, especially self-forgiveness. When you're letting go of something, you can forgive yourself for what you didn't know, or for the ways that you coped, or for the time that it took, for anything you're feeling guilty or frustrated or angry about. Forgiveness is the sister to acceptance. It's going to offer you a gentle container to navigate through whatever it is that you're looking at, feeling into, so you can shed and shed with more peace. I offer these because these aspects help you recognize what you're actually in control of. You can't control outcomes or timing. You can't control how others respond or what they expect of you. But you can always choose what you continue feeding with your attention, your intention, and energy. You can choose which stories you keep playing and which ones you let go of. You can choose how you feel through your transition. It can be gentle, or it can be hard, or it can be somewhere in between. We often equate gentleness with lack of power, lack of control. And in reality, I think it's actually one of the most empowering pieces you can hold in your heart, in your life, because gentleness sustains you. It reminds me of the turtle and the hare, where the hare runs fast and looks amazing, looks like they're going to do so well, but often burns out, is empty towards the end of what they're pursuing. Whereas the turtle takes their time, is methodical, is gentle, knows their own boundaries and strength. And that's ultimately what leads them to success. So knowing those aspects, those pieces you can lean on to help support you as you move through this time of shedding. Know that if you're unsure of what to let go, if you're listening and feeling like, well, what is it that I'm shedding? What is it I need to let go of? I feel like I'm okay, or I just simply don't know. Then you don't always need to search harder. Remember, there's that invitation to let it come to you. You actually might need to listen a little bit more, might need to slow down a little bit more, or give yourself some space to connect in and notice. And truly, your present moment circumstances are already communicating with you. So notice how you're feeling in your day, in the recent week or weeks. Notice what patterns keep resurfacing. Notice what feels heavy or draining. Notice what you're frustrated by or annoyed about. And notice if there's any emotions or habits or beliefs repeating themselves. What's your mind saying? Is your inner critic pretty loud? And what are those voices telling you? Because those patterns aren't alluding to problems. They're actually alluding to information, and they're invitations where you can notice them, even briefly, and start to see what they have to say. And that's where your intuition is going to support you. That's the key that opens the door to allow you to get the clarity you need without overthinking it. And I want to help you go even deeper with this, with helping you identify a process for shedding and letting go, and then so you can move forward. So here's a simple flow of practices you can return to at any time, one that mirrors how real change actually happens. And the first step is reflection. It always is going to begin with some reflection. And you're not coming into reflection with the want to analyze everything. It's more about awareness. You want to be neutral in this sense. It's about allowing yourself to see what's been true without judgment. Reflecting on both aspects of the coin, both where you feel contracted in your life and where you feel open and expansive, where you feel something is incomplete and needs attention, and where you feel things are complete and feeling very good. Because having those two sides is going to help you show the gap between. And from there, you move into the second step, which is identification. And this is where you start to identify and name what's ready to be released: a belief, a habit, a way of responding to life. So instead of asking, why am I like this? Why am I stuck in this cycle? Why is this coming up? You can ask, what is this protecting me from? What is this helping me learn? What is the root of the source of this? And those questions alone create compassion and a neutral space to reflect into. And with it being the start of a new year, with us closing 2025, it can also be helpful to give the reflection a frame around looking at the year behind us. What from 2025 in who you are, how you acted, how you showed up, what you did or didn't do, are you going to let go of? What do you no longer want to carry forward? And then you can also reflect around, what do you want to carry forward? Or what are you going to intentionally bring in that you did not have? And what did you learn from 2025 that you can take into your future? You can do these practices however you'd like, but it's really about identifying some of the core aspects that are ready to come forward, to be seen, to be released, to be transitioned or transformed into something new, to benefit you as you move forward. And you're not forcing change through this, but you're allowing reflection, understanding, and integration to happen, which starts to open up new energy, new space for you to work with. Because only after you create new space, new energy, can you begin to really anchor into what you're building and start fresh from that point. This doesn't give you a rigid plan, but it gives you a felt direction. It starts to create new beliefs that you're choosing to practice, a different energy that you're willing to embody, and small actions that you can take before you feel completely ready to start to align with what you're moving into. And that's where transition happens, that last step. You start to transition away from who you were, away from those limiting beliefs, away from that old shedded skin, into learning your new self, your new way of being, what you're attempting to show up and anchor in, and what you're going to manifest from there. Your confidence doesn't usually come first in this process. It's going to be built through aligned movement, understanding, and action that you're going to take. But the shedding needs to come first before you can really anchor and understand with new, clear eyes, a fresh perspective. And that's what's going to open you to new freedom. That's what's going to open into the fire, into this different energy that prepares you to run free. And with this energy shift, I'm really excited to change, to move into a new space. And so here are a few things I'm consciously shedding, not as a declaration of mastery, but as an offering to show you some of the areas that I'm personally working on, an effort to spark some ideas for you or offer resonance with some of them. So the first big one is I'm letting go of freezing when I don't have the whole plan. I have held a belief that I need to perfect clarity and a whole master plan before I can move forward. And I really know that this keeps me stuck. It makes it so when I feel overwhelmed or unsure or don't have the next 10 steps, then I freeze and I avoid. And sometimes I avoid what needs my attention. So I'm really learning that avoidance and this freeze aspect does not protect my peace or help my growth. It delays it. So I'm choosing to let that go and to trust that clarity will come through action. And I only need the next right step to take action on. A second thing I'm letting go of is the belief that life has to be hard. I'm not sure where this started exactly. I'm still working on uncovering that. But I've held this deep-rooted belief that life has to be hard, that to get to the good stuff, to feel the success, or to even be able to enjoy life, you have to go through hardship. that things must be heavy to be meaningful. And I really, this last year, have noticed the impact that that is having on myself, on those around me, on my life. And so I'm choosing to shift it, to let go of that belief and to expect that life can actually be great, that I can expect goodness, ease, and support through it, and that a meaningful life can actually be shown and created through a beautiful journey, not a hard one. And lastly, I am honoring and releasing old versions of myself that no longer fit. As I move into this postpartum season, as I know I will be uncovering and letting go and reweaving new parts of myself, I am allowing myself to let go of what came before, to make room for what wants to come forward, and to trust in this process. In past, I really wanted to force this process, especially in the postpartum period. I wanted to get past it. I wanted to reclaim who I knew I was, or bring back the strength and independence that you have before children. And yet in reality, I've grown so much. I am no longer the maiden. I'm definitely deep in motherhood, and I'm grateful for who I was and every version of me between then and now. And I am even ready to grow beyond them. I'm ready to let them be and learn from them and step into a new state. So those are some aspects that I'm working on shedding right now, that I'm reflecting on. I'm taking time to understand the root of, to allow myself to feel more prepared and strong as I move into my future, as I build my future, and know that I am the creator of my life. Through every choice I make, create and weave what comes forward. So I'm trusting myself. I'm leaning a little bit more into opening for signs and for support, asking for help, talking about things, and being soft and gentle with myself. And I hope that helps you decide and notice where maybe you want to start, what thread you want to pull first. Because when we consciously shed, we get to intentionally grow. And something profound begins to happen for us. You feel lighter, not because life is easy, but because you're no longer fighting yourself. Not because life just suddenly becomes easy and everything is resolved, but because you're not fighting yourself. You're not fighting against these old stories and these old beliefs that are holding you back. You begin to feel more empowered because you're choosing rather than reacting. And you can feel more confident because you trust your ability to meet what comes and also to create what comes. This is how you create your reality from alignment instead of fear. Not by controlling, but by listening deeply and moving honestly. And this whole process from shedding, presence, listening, and creating is one of the deepest forms of an intuitive practice. This is what we're here to do. This is why we have a connection to ourselves. So we can notice, we can feel when something's off, and we have the tools and the bridge to understand and get clarity on it. Because what if shedding is not about losing who you were, but it's about freeing yourself to become what's next, who you're next meant to be? It brings us to the core of this whole episode, of this whole understanding, that your growth is never outside of you. It happens through you. And this moment, this time, is offering a very strong, poignant invitation to do just that. So remember that letting go isn't the end of your story. It's a clearing of the page for a fresh start. So if something is leaving your life, whether by choice or by season, whether it's a belief, a person, an identity, a way of being, a physical thing, trust that it's making room for you. Because your shedding is not a loss, it's a preparation. It's a clearing of your soil so your next truth can take root. And that's powerful, that's potent. That's where everything is going to grow from. It gives you the fertility, the ripeness, and the creative power to open a new reality to yourself. So thank you so much for being here with me today. Thank you for listening. I wish you all the best on your journey of shedding and letting go. I'd love to hear about it if you'd like to share with me. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating or review wherever you listen. That's the best way to show your support. Thank you again for listening to Intuition Unlocked. Thank you for joining me on Intuition Unlocked. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a moment of insight, guidance, or intuitive inspiration. To dive deeper into our community and get access to exclusive content, head to my website at www.olivia-ashley.com and subscribe to my newsletter. You can also connect with me on Instagram at wildlyolivia for daily inspiration and updates. Remember, your intuition is your superpower. Trust it, nurture it, and let it guide you. Until next time, I'm Olivia Ashley, and I can't wait to connect with you again.